Think of it this way. When you were 2 years old, you had no idea what it was to be a 15-year-old. Not only did you not know, but you didn't know what you didn't know. We conceive of God as being more, the distance between God and human beings is far greater than the distance between a 2-year-old and a 15-year-old. So when we speak about God, we have to acknowledge how limited we really are.
So, okay, you laid out a lot of fascinating things on the table. So one, the knowability of God, then this idea of deep feeling, which again, can God be operate in the space of feelings too? So not just the mouth and the ear of the senses. Can God be known? Can God be felt by this 3-year-old in the analogy versus the teenager?
So I will take refuge in a beautiful phrase from Martin Buber, another Jewish theologian. He said, God cannot be expressed. God can only be addressed. In other words, you can speak to God, you can feel a sense of God, but can you begin to comprehend or know God? No. Yosef Kaspi, I'm pulling in a couple of early Jewish philosophers. He said, to know God, I would have to be God.
But can we get close? Is it useful or is it a distraction to visualize things, to embody, to create, to attach to the stories some kind of visualizations in our mind? For example, gender, he versus she,
Right.
things like this, or old man in the sky kind of feeling.
So it's almost inevitable, but I think ultimately you try to transcend it. This was the great, we just read this actually in synagogue, the story of the golden calf. And the story is that human beings found it impossible to not have a visualization because they had just come from Egypt, and in the world of pagan worship, everything is, it's not that pagans thought that idol was actually God, but it represented visually what God was. And along comes this idea that God is actually not capable of being visualized, which is very difficult, and it stretches the bounds of human comprehension, maybe even breaks them.
So would you say the proper way to operate as a human in relation to God is humility, in that you're screwed? You're not able to basically know anything, almost anything.
Well, the reason that the salvation of this is that you can't, I was going to say the reason you're not screwed, but then I thought somebody might be upset at a rabbi saying that. So I didn't say it and have not said it.
Yes.
But the reason you're not is that you don't have to have a comprehension of God. You have to have a relationship to God. And those are not the same. I mean, to draw an analogy that is not far from perfect, as most analogies are, but this one especially, you have relationships with people who are mysteries to you. You're a mystery to yourself. You can live and love somebody for 50 years and they can say something that surprises you, because ultimately we are trapped in here. And when a child first says I, we call that individuation. But what that really means is I now know that I am cut off from the minds of all other children and all other people. And so you have with God a more intimate relationship because you can believe that you are known by God and you have a relationship to God despite the fact that you can't know God just as you can't know others.